now. You'll see federal investigators here talking about the case against Shohei Ohtani's ex-interpreter and the money he apparently took from the baseball superstar. Let's listen in.
Criminal complaint against Ippei Mizuhara, a person who until recently was employed as a translator for professional baseball player Shohei Ohtani. The federal complaint filed just a few minutes ago charges Mizuhara with bank fraud for allegedly stealing more than $16 million from Mr. Ohtani. According to the complaint, Mr. Mizuhara stole this money largely to finance his voracious appetite for illegal sports betting. Our investigation revealed that Mizuhara, a Japanese language interpreter, began working as a translator for Mr. Ohtani when he first came to the United States to begin playing professional baseball. Mr. Mizuhara had first met Mr. Ohtani in 2013, so the two knew each other. Mr. Ohtani did not speak or understand English, while Mr. Mizuhara knew English and was familiar with the United States. As such, Mr. Mizuhara not only translated for Mr. Ohtani, but also acted as his de facto manager. Our investigation has revealed that Mr. Mizuhara, a Japanese language interpreter, began working as a translator for Mr. Ohtani when Mr. Ohtani first came to the United States to begin playing professional baseball. Mr. Mizuhara had first met Mr. Ohtani in 2013, so the two men knew each other. Mr. Ohtani did not speak or understand English, while Mr. Mizuhara knew English and was familiar with the United States. As a result, Mr. Mizuhara acted as Mr. Ohtani's de facto manager. In 2018, shortly after Mr. Ohtani arrived from Japan, Mr. Mizuhara helped Mr. Ohtani set up a bank account. That was a bank account that was used to deposit Mr. Ohtani's salary payments from professional baseball. Mr. Mizuhara had access to that bank account, and he refused to give access to Mr. Ohtani's other professional advisors, including his agent, his accountant, and his financial advisor. And he told them that Mr. Ohtani wanted to keep that account private. In 2021, Mr. Mizuhara began placing sports bets with a group of bookmakers who were linked to an illegal gambling operation. Over time, Mr. Mizuhara's bets became more and more frequent. And over time, Mr. Mizuhara's bets became larger and larger in amounts. Messages between Mr. Mizuhara and the bookmakers showed that he lost considerable money on those bets, but he continued to make the wagers, thousands of wagers over time. The bets do not appear to have been made on the sport of baseball. At the same time he started placing the bets with bookmakers, Mr. Mizuhara began using Mr. Ohtani's account to make payments for the bank account. Mr. Mizuhara had helped set up the account, so he's familiar with it, and he used that familiarity to access the account. The evidence we've gathered over the past few weeks has demonstrated that in total, Mr. Mizuhara stole over $16 million from Mr. Ohtani's account in order to pay for these illegal sports bets. Phone and bank records show that Mr. Mizuhara appears to have accessed Mr. Ohtani's bank account online. What is more, Mr. Mizuhara lied to the bank to access the account. For instance, we've obtained recordings of telephone calls in which Mizuhara spoke with bank employees, lied to them about being Mr. Ohtani, gave personal biographical information for Mr. Ohtani in order to impersonate him, and thereby convinced the bank to approve large wire transfers of large amounts of money to the bookmakers. I want to emphasize this point. Mr. Ohtani is considered a victim in this case. There is no evidence to indicate that Mr. Ohtani authorized the over $16 million of transfers from his account to the bookmakers. Mr. Ohtani has stated that he did not authorize these transfers that he did not grant Mizuhara access to his account. But on top of that, we reviewed both Mizuhara's and Mr. Ohtani's phones and their communications over time, over several years, thousands of communications reviewed by a Japanese linguist. And that review has demonstrated no discussion of betting, wagers, or authorization for transfers to bookmakers. Furthermore, there would have been no reason for Mr. Mizuhara to impersonate Mr. Ohtani in calls with the bank if these transfers had been authorized. Also, when Mr. Mizuhara would occasionally win on his sports bets, the winnings were not deposited in Mr. Ohtani's bank account, but rather in Mr. Mizuhara's personal bank account. Finally, in a text message with one of the bookmakers, which is detailed in the complaint which is available to you, Mr. Mizuhara admitted to the bookmaker to stealing from Mr. Ohtani. Let me summarize. Our investigation has revealed that due to the position of trust he occupied with Mr. Ohtani, Mr. Mizuhara had unique access to Mr. Ohtani's finances. Mr. Mizuhara used and abused that position of trust in order to take advantage of Mr. Ohtani. Mr. Mizuhara used and abused that position of trust in order to plunder Mr. Ohtani's bank account to the tune of over $16 million. And Mr. Mizuhara did all this to feed his insatiable appetite for illegal sports betting. In this way, we allege in the complaint, Mr. Mizuhara committed fraud on a massive scale. And let me note, what we filed today here is a complaint. Mr. Mizuhara is presumed to be innocent, but you can see all the allegations that we've made in the complaint that's been filed. Finally, let me offer some thanks in this case. I want to thank the amazing investigative team in this case for the work that they did. Investigators with IRS criminal investigation, investigators with Homeland Security investigations, and with our office, United States Attorney's Office for the Central District of California, worked tirelessly, worked quickly, and worked thoroughly to bring this charge against Mr. Mizuhara. I want to thank, in particular, the Assistant United States Attorneys in my office who worked on this case. That would be AUSA's Jeff Mitchell, AUSA Rachel Agress, and AUSA Dan Boyle.